Hello my little gods and goddesses, welcome back to my channel, Alexxx. Today we're going to be talking about a Stephen King book called Different Seasons, and this book was published August 17th, 1982. I wasn't even born yet. Were you born in 1972? 1972, what? Who was born 1972? Eminem, I think. 1982, so 10 years after 1972. I have notes, so hopefully I'll be able to stay on topic. Now this is not a book that I own physically, unfortunately, although I would buy it if I found it in the wild somewhere, because I really enjoyed these stories. Also, I hope you like this lighting. It's all natural lighting, but I am kind of facing the window from over here, so I hope that's okay. First, remember to subscribe if you're new here. Give this video a thumbs up. Check out my description box down below for my eBay, Poshmark, and Instagram. If you like online shopping, that is a great way to support this channel. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Alright, let's start with the first story on Different Seasons. This one is called Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. I think we're all very familiar with the story because of the amazing movie that came out for it. Let me read to you first a little description from Audible, and then I will read to you what I wrote down after. For Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, it says, hope springs eternal. An unjustly imprisoned convict seeks a strange and startling revenge. Love revenge. The basis for the Best Picture Academy Award nominee, The Shawshank Redemption. So yeah, this was a very short story. It's the first book, like I said, or novella. It's just a short story. And I wrote, don't quote me, I wrote, I love the movie. You get a little more detail from the book, but not much more since it's a very short story. Yeah, it's very short, and I definitely wanted more, and I was surprised by Stephen King because he usually gives a lot of detail, and he's usually like really good at giving that character backstory and life, but with this one I felt it was lacking. But because it is such an inspiring story that it created such an amazing movie that makes me cry when a certain inmate gets released and then hangs himself. Every time it just gets me, and it's just such an amazing story. I feel like it's a good reminder for how corrupt and unjust the prison system is, because a lot of inmates are in there and they are not guilty of the crime they are in there for, in prison and jail. So for that and for the movie, I'm gonna give this first story a 5 out of 5, which is what I wrote. Before I move on to the next one though, I'm gonna go on to a little side tangent, but it is related. It's about Rita Hayworth. She was an actress and a dancer. She was born October 17th, 1918. And her name is in the book title, but it is not in the movie title. What I wrote is, she was very beautiful and appears in the movie adaptation for Shawshank and on a poster that Andy uses to cover the hole on his wall. She was eventually diagnosed in her real life with Alzheimer's disease and rose awareness for the condition. I believe Stephen King has a crush on her, cause even though Andy does have a poster of her on his wall, the model actress is replaced on his wall. Even in the movie, he gets a different woman for, you know, the poster that covers the hole. And in his interviews, he mentions that one of his biggest fears, Stephen King, is losing his wit by getting Alzheimer's disease. Thankfully, he has not. And I believe he will not, because he's at a big age now where I feel like he's safe from that, thankfully, because we're still getting books and stories from him. But yeah, I just wanted to add that little part just to give homage or honor to Rita Hayworth, because I feel like Stephen King mentioned her. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. Anyway, I feel like Stephen King mentioned her for a reason. I feel like he had something for her, and I think that's very beautiful and heartwarming. And anyway, I just had to mention her because she was a great actress. And before I read this story and saw her name in the title and looked her up, I didn't know about her story. So thank you, Stephen King, for putting her in the title of the book. Thank you. I didn't use that. Next is Apt Pupil. Oh yeah, I'm gonna read you first what's on Audible, and then I will read you what I wrote. Todd Bowden is one of the top students in his high school class, and a typical American 16-year-old, until he becomes obsessed with the dark and deadly past of an old man in town. The inspiration for the film Apt Pupil from Phoenix Pictures, Ball from Grace. Thankfully, I have not seen the movie for this adaptation for Apt Pupil. I wrote quite a lot. This whole thing is for Apt Pupil, and this whole thing is for Apt Pupil. And that was for Shawshank. This was for Rita Hayworth. The boy Todd Bowden surprised and shocked me all the way till the end. I've been curious with sociopaths for a few years now, watching psychologists talking about different types of antisocial personalities, and I believe the 16-year-old boy fits the description into his younger adulthood. The older man that the boy blackmails in order to get all the disgusting stories from his time as a Nazi is in hiding in his small town. The boy recognizes him from an old photo that he saw in his friend's dad's old magazine. They, both psychopaths, take turns trying to outsmart one another without any award to gain. They are, quote unquote, fucking each other psychologically, as the old man so sweetly puts it to the teenager who seems to have the upper hand until the older man lies about having a letter in a safe box somewhere in a bank possibly. Both end up murdering homeless people because they're monsters inside. That was such a weird way to say it. Sorry. That awakens within the Nazi. Oh, the killing side of him awakens within the Nazi when the boy makes him wear a uniform from those times that the boy purchases cheaply. Todd has sexual intercourse with a girl that he sees as a slut and is not into. He also daydreams about killing his parents as his grades fail and his lies grow harder to cover up. Eventually goes off on a killing rampage after a dumb my handwriting is so ugly. Oh, okay, yeah. After a dumb man from high school, I think it was a school counselor, he went to come back to confront him on his cover-up, knowing the Nazi that was supposed to be his grandpa from the news. He was recognized by a Jewish fellow that laid beside him in the hospital. So yeah, that was a lot of spoilers. But I feel like it's such an old story that you should have read it by now. I feel like, you know. Anyway, Apt Pupil was very, very shocking. Like I said, I did not expect that when the boy went and knocked on the old man's door and proceeds to push his way inside verbally, because he's 16 when the story starts, and we follow him into his college era when he starts going into college and stuff like that, which doesn't end well, because when he is confronted with his big lie by the school counselor, he's the first one that he takes out with a gun, because his father is like an avid gun user. He likes guns. I don't know, like, do they hunt? What is the point of the guns? I don't know. I don't remember them hunting like at all. But, and that's fine, I don't care. He ends up going to a highway where he has fantasized about using his gun on drivers, people in cars. So that's how the story ends. Stephen King does tell us that he gets taken out by the police. I think it's the FBI that was investigating him. And by this time, the old man was on the news because he was recognized, like I said, by a man that was in the hospital with him after having a heart attack. But yeah, I'm gonna give this little short story that was actually not that short. I feel like it was a few hours long. This is getting a 5 out of 5 as well because it was the most interesting out of all the stories. Spoiler, this is probably the favorite out of this little collection of stories for me. It was just so different. It was so creative for Stephen King, and like I said, I did not see. I didn't know where it was going. I didn't know what was gonna happen next. You know, like, cause I don't know. It was just so great. But it was a 5 out of 5 for me. It was 5 out of 5. The third story is called The Body, and we have a little description. 4 rambunctious young boys plunge through the facade of a small town, come face to face with life, death, and intimations of their own morality. The film Stand By Me is based on this novel. This is a Winter's Tale, I think. Wait, is this a Winter's Tale? Who cares? Now I'm gonna read to you. Hopefully you can understand what I wrote, because hopefully I can understand what I wrote, but hopefully you can comprehend what I'm telling you that I wrote. These kids reminded me of kids from the Losers Club from It. They go on an adventure to look at a dead body, which is believable. As a kid, I lacked the real sense of fear and especially that foresight for consequences. They swim in a dirty river or lake, get sucked on by leeches, which is something that actually happened to Mr. King in his youth. They also travel over train tracks and almost get hit, but they don't. The saddest part is how they all grow apart and how, of course, they fight over a dead child's body with teenagers. What they plan to do with the body, I don't know. I'm glad I have never seen the movie because the story was new to me, although it wasn't as engrossing as Apt Pupil was. The point of view character is a writer, Cy, because Stephen King always has to put in a writer, and the only survivor from the kids group. He also shares a weird story about a guy who has sex, fights his father, and takes off. It was very confusing. It was. I think the writer, the point of view writer, I forgot his name already. He's a writer, so he shares this weird ass story that doesn't even fit. Something town, Boys Town. It was super weird. We get this white guy who has like a Hispanic nickname or something, and it was super weird. It just didn't fit at all. And I wish Stephen King would have just made that into its own novella, because it really took me out of the little boy's adventure story. So yeah, which already was not very interesting to me, honestly. Like, it did have its funny moments. Like, there's a little boy who's very like a risk taker. Like, he will like jump in front of cars and barely miss him. He also has a fucking horrible backstory where his father burned his ear or something, and it was just so horrible. But he's the one that I cared for the most, and he ends up dead. Like, what? I wanted him to be the point of view character writer, but he wasn't. So yeah, this was like maybe what inspired the It Losers Club characters. If this came out before, I don't know which one came first, but one of them inspired the other. I'm pretty sure this one came out first, but don't quote me. Anyways, let's just rate this story. This is getting a 3.5 out of 5, the lowest score yet. It's a 3.5 because, like I said, it was just not very interesting, and the writer did go off on like a whole other story tangent, and that just shouldn't have happened. So I just, like, one of the little boys is writing as an adult, you know, and then he's a writer, so he has to put in his other. It was just super confusing to me. I don't know. It's a 3.5. Finally, we're gonna get into the breathing method. The breathing method. Let me read what. It's very short. The breathing method. A disgraced woman is determined to triumph over death. Spoiler, she does not. This is all for the breathing method. Oh, God. I really need to sharpen my writing skills. We follow an older man who's a doctor in this slow ass story. LOL, because he's old. JK, not funny. Sorry. He's asked by his boss or some other old man to join this secret club, and the whole time I'm thinking, okay, cool, we about to find out some weird or crazy stuff these old rich men are doing at this building, but we don't. Instead, one of them, his boss, I think, I almost zoned out while listening to this a few times, and I had to go back and listen again because it was so boring. Tells a story about a pregnant girl who gets knocked up in a time where it is a sin and almost unlawful to do that outside of marriage. She decides to keep the baby, but on the night that she goes into labor, she or the taxi driver gets into an accident and she gets her head cut off. Sorry. She was taught by her doctor, the storyteller, a breathing method, so when he arrives at the scene, the head speaks to him. What's more crazy is that the doctor, who became kind of close with her, doesn't keep the baby boy and puts him up for adoption. Are you kidding me? I was so disappointed in that. I was like, really? So you're not gonna keep it? Okay, so you just hated her? So you hated her then? Okay, got it. I got it. This story got a 3 out of 5 for me, and that was nice. That was nice for me because I really like his writing, Stephen King, but it was boring. That was a nice rating, a 3. That's the lowest that I gave. So it's a 3 out of 5. I could do without it. Oh, I don't have to read it again. No. I recommend At Pupil though. And of course, Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption was great. And the other ones were just which is alright. So on average, I guess the book as a whole would be a 4, which is pretty good. Pretty good. Anyway, I listened to this book on Audible, and you can too, I think, unless you already own a physical copy, which, like I said at the beginning, I would recommend, and I would buy this book again just to read At Pupil again because it was so good. It was so good. I mean, of course I could just listen to the audiobook again, but I'd rather read it because I feel like I retain more information when I read. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. That's it for me. Please give this video a thumbs up if you came this far. A lot of you don't. A lot of people don't read in America, and that's disappointing. Let me know where you're from in the comments if you do make it to the end of the video. Probably from Europe or Asia, somewhere where they read more. Where do they read? I don't know, but you let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.